We have a traditional Mount Sinai that was birthed from a person that really had no idea what they were talking about. They just kind of walked down there and was like, "This is the mountain of God." No, sorry, that don't work. And so with no archaeological evidence whatsoever, they just kind of put a stamp on it, and it's been there for a long, long time. We have now more evidence that holds a lot of clout, that absolutely overthrows what they've said for years and years, and it is phenomenal. A lot of this has been building for the last 15 years, and I mean it's incredible to know what we have now. They are physically putting up hotels and everything else for people to start visiting this site. It is absolutely huge, and I'm so excited. I plan on going there. Hopefully, as soon as COVID drops, I'm probably going to be on a plane. And so I think it's one of the top 3 sites in the world. You know, if I had to number it, it would probably be my number 2. Running all over Israel it's always been my number 1. So how many of y'all read about this over the week? It's good. It's good. And so we're going to start in chapter 13. We ended up finishing 12 with the death of the firstborn. And what is neat about this is, you know, when all the firstborn die, and then the Passover takes place. The Passover protected the firstborn. And then right in chapter 13, it says, "Consecrate to me all the firstborn." So God redeems them, pulls them back. He's like, all these firstborn now belong to me. Whether it be anything else, all of them belong to me. And so that was a cool transition that God did. It was like, you know, I'm going to kill all the firstborn. Now I'm going to protect you, but now I'm going to reclaim them all. You're not going to be able to keep them anyway. And so I just thought that was cool that God would do that. It just puts almost like I don't know what you would call it. That God just kept them anyway. Instead of taking them to death, he's like, now they all belong to me. It's almost like a planned situation that would happen. So, but what we're rolling into now that he has people that are for this, it almost separated these people and made them holy because God protected them. And maybe that's what it was. Everybody can somewhat speculate on why God did that. I just thought that was cool reading that. And so let's jump right into 13, and that's what it is. So the Lord said to Moses, "Consecrate to me all the firstborn, wherever it is the first opening of the womb among the people of Israel, both man and beast is mine." Okay? And so now we run into the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. And it's talking about, of course, that feast. Feast of the Unleavened Bread also was the feast of the time when Jesus was put into the grave. The Passover happened, and then Feast of Unleavened Bread starts that following day where Jesus is in the ground. When we were doing the 21 days of fast, I did a little snippet on Facebook, and we always do kind of Passover at our home or communion at our house every Sunday morning. We make our own unleavened bread and stuff, and that was really cool that there was no yeast to be found in all of Jerusalem. And yeast represents what? Sin. And so no sin was found anywhere in Jerusalem when Jesus was in the grave and when he died. Isn't that not awesome? That they got it all out. They were literally preparing for the ultimate Passover. And God was physically preparing him, mentally preparing him, especially for our day, that we can now see these things as they were unfolding, that all the representation of sin was gone. It was out of the city when Jesus was crucified. And it was put in the grave. and was still gone when he rose. That's amazing. I love that, man. And it just takes a little time and a little digging and a little detective work to come to all of this. And I mean, it's just cool how God does that. And so the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it says, today in the month of Abib, all right, you're going out, and the Lord brings to you the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your father to give you, the land flowing with milk and honey. All right. You shall keep the service of this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. And on the seventh day you shall put together a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for the seventh day, and no leavened bread shall be seen with you. All right, so he's kicking out all that leaven. All right, so let's jump. And so, let's see here. Let's jump over to verse 17. So 13, verse 17. We're going to do a lot of skipping because it's a lot. And there's a certain place I want to get to, and I don't want to be here for 3 weeks trying to teach the same thing, because you can be stuck in one chapter for a long time. All right. It says, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the Philistines. One right there. The land of the Philistines. So where were the Philistines at, located wise? I want to show you, and I forgot my book at home, and so we're going to do it this way. All right. Does everybody know where Gaza is? Some people do, some people don't. Try to find this. Maybe on a bigger map. Do y'all have those maps in your Bible? Usually in the very back. Look at the bigger map. Let's do that. This is a good one here. All right, this is a older representation of kind of the Exodus, and you'll see, of course, Egypt being here. All right, you have the Nile running north here, and so Goshen being that easterly land. All right, and so the way of the Canaanites, what did I say? Not Canaanites, Philistines. Okay, the Philistines were known there. If you chop down their name, it means people of the plains, so the flatlands. And if you look at some of the maps that I have, and I'll bring my book next week, and they were thought to be not native to Israel or to the land of Canaan. They were thought to be coming over by ships. And they were known as almost like a merchant type people that just come over and migrated over and just took that whole land up. And so we know Philistines are good sized people because David and Goliath was being a Philistine, correct? All right. So I know he was one of the freak of the natures, but that's that land. They had that whole coastal plain there that run, that northeast to southeast, and so that's where they were. So God, right off the bat, he said, do not go that way. All right. So jumping back into 17, it says, do not go to the land of the Philistines, although that was near. Okay. And so what does that tell me? That means the Philistines were pretty close. All right. They loved the water. They were probably some type of early fishermen's maybe, or something like that. It says at least the people change their minds, and when they see war, turn back to Egypt, or return to Egypt. All right, so we know that the Israelites were ready. They were ready to go. God said, hey, get all your stuff, tuck in your belt, and get ready to go. And so, but God led them around by the way of the wilderness towards the Red Sea, and the people of Israel went up out of the land, equipped for battle. Okay? So they were equipped for battle, but they did not have the mindset for battle. Why? Because they've been beat down for a long time. Okay? They did not, shortly after we see this, they don't have the mindset to go to war. They have the mindset to just turn around. And so that, God knows that. Don't take them to the north. Even though I'm trying to get you to Canaan, we're going to have to go around about a different way. All right? And so Moses took the bones of Joseph, for Joseph had made sons of Israel solemnly swear, saying, God will surely visit you. That's kind of neat. And you shall carry up my bones with you from here. All right? And so they start out, and the Lord went before them by a pillar of cloud, and by the night was a pillar of fire. And they traveled by day and by night, so they did not stop. By the pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, they did not depart before the people. Okay. All right. So what is that telling us? Because God is He is present with them, and He's showing them the way to go. All right. So I want to skip some of this. Some of it's just a depiction of what's going on in the story that we all know so well. We know that of course Pharaoh's going to come after them with an army. All right. Said he pursues the people. The Egyptians pursued them on horses and chariots and in the army. And so to understand where Goshen was, all right, the Gulf of Suez, the Gulf of Aqaba, okay, this split where you have the Sinai Peninsula coming down. If Goshen is so well known and God is leading them out of Egypt, anywhere south of there is still Egypt, okay? So if he's saying, don't go to the land of Canaan, but you can't go south either because that's just Egypt, where do you go? You push right into the Sinai Peninsula, okay? So here we go. Let's jump into 14, verse 15. So the Lord says to Moses, why do you cry to me? Why do you cry to me? What is Moses carrying? Moses is carrying the staff, okay? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, for the people of Israel may go through the sea on dry ground. All right, so what is God trying to do? He's trying to get Moses to think somewhat independent and take charge. Why do you cry to me? What is in your hand? Have I not anointed the staff with the power of God? Have you not seen all these miracles done by this same staff? Use that thing and go forward, right? When God gives you ability to do something, don't sit there on your butt and just wonder and pray about the same things you have the ability to do. Okay, that's what He's trying to get us to do. Move forward. Same thing He did with many other people in the Bible. And so He said, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they shall go in after them. All right. So God He's setting them up. All right. Verse 19. Then the angel of the Lord of God, all right, now here's the difference. Then the angel of God. Okay. Many scriptures we find an angel of the Lord, but this one says the angel of God. Now those are two different words. They're not just angel and angel. Take that, write that down, and go chew on that one for a little while, because it's a good difference between that. He said, then the angel of the Lord, or God, who was going before the host of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them, coming between the host of Egypt and the host of Israel, or the body of Israel, or however the words you want to say. And there was the cloud and the darkness, and it lit up the night, and without one coming near the other all night long. Okay? So, now we have an all-night wait for a wind to come up, somewhat what I believe the Gulf of Aqaba, or the Aqaba inlet there. And so Moses stretched out his hand, and the Lord drove back the sea with a strong easterly wind all night and made the sea dry land. And the waters were divided, and the people went into the midst of the sea on dry ground. All right, the Egyptians pursued them, and there they was. It was pretty much panic after that. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea, and the waters may come back down on the Egyptians, upon their chariots. And that's what happened. And so they literally just got overrun by a mass water. What do you call those things? Tsunami type. And that's rough. I think that's the most powerful force on earth when it comes to just violent force is a tsunami, is water. Nothing really stops it, especially not a chariot. And so it says there in verse 30, thus the Lord saves Israel that day from the land of the Egyptians. Israel saw that the Egyptians died on the shore. Israel saw the great power of the Lord used against the Egyptians. So the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in His servant Moses. And in what's that? Oh yeah. And the song of Moses. All right, Moses writes a song before the Lord, and we still have it today, which is another amazing thing. All right, and so now they're moving. All right, now they're going, and so I want to. All right, and so you can go to 15 verse 22. Says, then Moses made Israel set out from the Red Sea. They went up to the wilderness of Shur. They went 3 days into the wilderness and found no water. Okay. All right. So these people are moving in what we know as land of Midian. All right. This is one of the biggest debates Bible scholars have today. Where is Midian? All right. I've been doing research because I wanted to be right. And I have beliefs. Yes, I believe what I read and everything like that. But Flavius Josephus was an early pre-fall of Israel historian. If we go to, is it Galatians 4? Hang on, let me pull this up real fast. I want to find this, and I think it's Galatians 4. Galatians 4. What's that? It's Paul writes about Arabia. I thought it was 4 and 22, but no. Well, here we go. Yep, here it is. All right. Galatians 4 and 25. Now Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. Okay. She corresponds with present Jerusalem, for she is a slavery with her children, for she is in slavery with her children. All right, so Arabia, okay? For every map that I've looked at looked at, and it's probably been hundreds, no Arabia has ever been labeled Sinai or Sinai Peninsula. None of them. And I've looked at the oldest ones I have found. Even the early Greek and especially the Romans, they were huge in Greece alone, especially Alexander's movement. He went and conquered Egypt, and so none of that has ever been labeled Sinai and Arabah. All right, they're always been separate. They've never been the same. So Midian has never been thought of being in Sinai area. So what does that tell us? That means that Mount Sinai could not be in the Sinai Peninsula, where the historical Mount Sinai was. Okay, that changes the whole story, kinda. It puts it in a whole different location, way more east. So where did Moses go before the Exodus happened? He goes to Midian. All right, his father-in-law is the priest of Midian. All right. In the Sinai Peninsula, not very many people. They've never found much in Sinai Peninsula. So what does that tell us? It's all to the west, or all to the east, not the west. That put us back in Egypt. So it's all to the east. It's all to the east. It's on the other side of the sea, the Red Sea. All right. So now we come to the factor. Well, is it the Red Sea? And other people has called it the Sea of Reeds, right? So the early name, we read that it could be the Sea of Reed, or what we know as Yam Sup. Okay, so Yam Sup they thought could have been Egyptian for the Sea of Reeds. Okay, which the word sup, S-U-P, means marsh plants. Marsh plants, same thing they would have cut down and made papyri out of, the paper that they use. All right, they were not in lack of that at all, because the whole north and south running Nile was covered in reeds. Okay, they had that. So they were thinking, well, if it's nowhere in Egypt, and the Sea of Aqaba and the Suez it's a desert plain, so there's no Sea of Reeds there anywhere. I mean, it's all desert. And so they're like, well, let's look at the translation again. Let's see if this could be wrong, or they just kind of misread it, because they could have took an Egyptian word, and a lot of them back then, they were very similar. And so they looked at the Semitic root meaning, and it's like, hey, now this word right here is very close to the word end. And so now if we read it, it's the sea at the end, or the end of the sea. So what does that tell us? They could have went all the way down the Sinai Peninsula, and now they've run into the end. So what do now? They turn back up. Okay, what does it tell us in scriptures? Now the Egyptians have them covered on all three sides. Okay, they've now choked them off. Okay, so if y'all want to look up another map, let me see if I can pull this up. All right, I'll just pull this one around again. So now, if we read this in the Semitic language, or in a different translation, now they've come out, all right, of Goshen and went south. All right, now they're at the end of the sea. Okay, now there's nowhere to go, so they cut up. Okay, there's two possible locations for this to happen. Either right here, and the Egyptians come through these wadis. This is not a very good map. Come to these wadis. So this is all mountainous area, and there's wadis or dried up riverbeds all through here. And so if you'll Google it, you'll probably get about a good 15 different websites of everybody's opinion. And so it will come here, or they would have crossed up in here into the land of Midian. Moses somewhat knowing where he is, okay? But now he's just cut off. And God's like, we're crossing the water. He's like, that water. And God's like, yeah, send them forth. And so this is what happens. Years when I got into this, I don't know, probably about 8 years ago, I was doing I love maps. And so in these maps, I found something like this, okay? So here's another map, okay? And if I pulled up, what's that thing called where you can click on the map and go anywhere in the world? It's Google Earth. Yeah, that one. You'll Google Earth, you'll see how all this is flat plain, okay? All this is flat plain. Then you come up this narrow, not like beach side, it's still pretty hard ground, but all this is mountainous. You can't take women and kids and donkeys and all that stuff through that. It's just impossible. It's just a logistical nightmare. So what do? You find the easiest route you can go, and you're just trying to run from an army, right? So speed is on your side, speed is not on your side because they're in chariots and we're on foot, okay? So what do? We take the easiest route that I can get a lot of people going. So multiple ways they could have got into this area. I honestly believe they went down and run into the end of the sea, all right? And they started cutting back up. Or they could have come across these wadis here, which is dried up riverbeds, and most of them are several hundred feet wide, okay? When it rains there, it just floods, and it's not a very deep, but it just hollows everything out, okay? Years ago, they were doing local research in this thing, and it literally, they call this area right here the crossing of Moses. That's what all the locals calls it. Well, why do the local people call it that? Could that have merit if local people call it and they're not related to anything of this? So yeah, when I go, especially when I was in Iraq, I was talking to people, and I'm like, hey, the Bible talks, about the Tower of Babel. They're like, yeah, it's about 200 miles south of here. I'm like, really? Yeah, everybody knows that. I'm like, well, I don't know that. He's like, yeah, I got a little brass thing of it right here. You want to see it? And, local people know stuff, man. I'm telling you. If you want to find a good place to eat, where do you go? The local people. This is what it is. So this is what happened. And if you look at the topography of this stuff, especially our military people, our educated, brothers when it comes to maps and navigation, you'll look at this and it's pretty clear that what route they'll take because the ability or the accessibility that they have. And so my thought process out of the years I've studied this is they would have more than likely crossed here because the Egyptians knows this area and they know it well. Probably very few of the Israelis knew of this area. Moses did because he's going into Midian. All right, that's where he finds his wife and his 2 kids. And in a minute, we're going to see that Jethro meets them over there. Okay, and so, but I just wanted to show that to you and see the verbiage that's going on in that. And so, yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Say.
In that, around that port, I was just kind of got chills when you said that because there's an underwater map, topography map, that shows that whole area is deep. It's a deep, deep valley.
Yes.
Except for about the area you pointed to.
Yeah, in that very area,
under the water,
shallows out.
it shallows out.
Right.
Just enough for, the 600,000 or so.
Right.
But that's the only part in that whole
Exactly.
side that actually has a shallower part
Mm-hmm.
to where the waters wouldn't have to rise up
Right.
Just a couple hundred.
Right.
People,
Yeah, they went down
anywhere
just
else,
a
they
little
would have
bit.
had to go.
Yeah, it really was a land bridge.
Yeah.
It was an underwater land bridge that God knew that was there, and he just kind of moved them along until they hit that area, and God knew, of course, what was under the water. And he's like, you know what, I'll hold them off. I'll bring a easterly breeze in, and I'll separate these waters just enough to where this land is dry. And guess what? You come across it. And so I think that's amazing. There's a lot of research out there on this, which is awesome. And you can go home and what's that? Oh yeah, it's a lot.
Also the only place, Nueva there, when the wadi opens up into Nueva, it's the only place where you could fit
Right.
hundreds of thousands of people at one time. They were pinned in there.
Well, if you want to walk around and show everybody that would be amazing.
Yeah, because that underwater landmass.
Yeah, walk or pass that around or something. Yeah, just amazing.
No other place that big where you could sit so many people right there. Time it gets back to me, it's going to be a completely different story.
Yeah.
You know, you look at that little land bridge, you can see how it could be dried out a lot quicker than if it was thousands of feet of sediment and everything.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And there's a pillar on that side also.
Right.
There was one on the other side.
Yeah.
Push the water back.
But to this day, there's a pillar.
Yeah. Still, yeah. Like he was saying, there's still a pillar there today.
Because it would create a natural wall to just hold the water up.
Yeah. And so.
We lost it. We don't want to send a text or anything. It disappeared.
Yeah. So there is. Here it is, right here. I can pull it up real fast. In that same crossing. That's what the underground land bridge looks like. And so that's just amazing that would be right there in that big old holding area, and God would.
And the whole rest of it's a trench.
Yeah, and the whole rest of it's just a trench. That if you tried to cross it, you would what? Phew, you would just fall to your death. And so this is the only place they could have crossed. So what does that tell us? Your options are limited.
God knew where
That's right.
He made her.
Right?
Yeah, it definitely was visible.
All right. Now look at here as well. So look here. In the Gulf of Aqaba, what does that look like? Looks like a sideways chariot wheel with an axle on it. Looks like two wheels just turn on its end. Oh, they're all over there.
Right there.
Yeah. And so there's more than just an area. They have found a lot of stuff. All right.
Sure have.
So you mean there's proof?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's a pretty big land area in this area. What we see on that map, that little dot right there, is a decent size. I mean, I would have to probably say, 300-400 football fields, not 100 football fields, 3 or 4 football fields in size, stacked on their side by side. So a pretty big holding area. Probably wouldn't get everybody there, but a lot of people would be there. And so what were they backed up into? What is that? What runs from there into that? Well, wadis. Wadis run to that. All right. Egyptians are very well known and diverse in running these wadis. No one there. I mean, it's just common roads. I mean, if Afghanistan today our roads are wadis. That's what they drive on. And so that's their main, their main routes. And so that's where these people are moving through. And so that's how Egypt was able to trap them on all three sides and hold them up. And God's like, hang on, let me fix this. And so he does. All right. So they cross over. All right. And so let's go to chapter 15, verse 22. It says, Then Moses made Israel set out for the Red Sea. They went into the wilderness of Shur. They went 3 days into the wilderness and found no water. And then they came to Marah, all right? And the water was bitter. Marah literally means bitter water. Imagine that. All right. So the people did what they did best, and they grumbled against Moses. All right. What shall we drink? And he cried to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a log. All right. And then he threw it in the water, and the water became sweet. All right. So this land of Marah. All right. In verse 27, it says, Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees, and they were encamped there by the water. These 12 springs are still there today. There's more than 70 palm trees now, because palm trees tend to grow. But these 12 springs are still there today. Amazing. All right. So that's why we can physically and have these areas. When we study these areas, we're looking for these key components that just follows along with the stories. And so that's what we're doing. We're just, as an investigator, that's what, not Ron Wyatt, but another guy, Bob Cornuke, that's what he was. He was a police detective. And so Bob Cornuke and another guy that was an astronaut said, hey, let's go find this. The Bible's pretty clear on this. So all we got to do is find the names of the cities and find our areas. How hard is it to find 12 springs and a crossing place and all this other stuff? And that's what they did years ago. And so they set out and did it, and they did it. And what comes after this is pretty amazing. All right. So a 3-day journey. You can't get a lot of people moving very fast. Average person can walk about 3 miles per hour, but that's not in this country land. If that don't cut it in half or less than 1 mile per hour, because you have women and kids and animals and everything like this. So they're moving less than 1 mile per hour. Okay, that's slow. I mean, that's creeping. And so, not as creeping as if you had an army behind you, but definitely slower than a standard adult male pace. And so, let's jump into 17. Hang on, I wrote something down. Yeah, let's jump into 17, because I want to get through 19. I want to get to, oh man, why does time go so fast? This is out of control. All right, let me get out of Galatians. I don't need it anymore.
We have lots of Tuesdays.
We do. We have like 52 of them, I think. All right. So let's jump into 17. All right. And so they move. All right. Let's see. All right. Jethro's advice. All right. So now we know that they are grumbling against God, and God brings the little coriander seed flakes, and it's called what? Manna. Manna means, what is it? They'd never seen it before. So they say it's manna. What is it? All right. And so now they are hungry, and we know that they said, hey, for 6 days it's going to come. On the 7th day, the Sabbath, it's not going to come. What did the people do? They went out anyway. Imagine these people being hard-headed. I'm Irish, not Jewish. Ireland people are pretty stubborn. But this book right here tells me these people are more stubborn than Irish people. Because, man, read the rest of the book. And so, let's jump into 17. All the congregation of the people of Israel moved from the wilderness of sin by stages, according to the commandments of the Lord. All right, so they're moving them by stages. And they camped at Rephidim. Before there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people quarreled with Moses and said, give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? But the people thirst for more water. And the people grumbled against Moses and said, why did you bring us out to Egypt to kill us with our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moses cried to the Lord, and what shall I do with these people? Why? I said, they are almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, pass on before the people, taking with you some of the elders of Israel, taking your hand to the staff, in which you struck the Nile, and go. But behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and the water shall come out of it, and the people will drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of the Israel. All right. And he called the name of the place Massah, all right, because the people quarreling with Israel, and because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" All right. I would not want to be these people. You know, it's bad when they're coming out of one place, and I could really see the unknown happening. You know, these people have no idea where they're going. They're leading a guy, being led by a guy that somewhat questionable, because he was raised Egyptian. You know, he's one of us, but he's like, he ain't one of us at the same time. And so they're getting led by a person that's questionable. Sure, some stuff is happening. Sure, they get. But let me tell you something. Hunger and thirst will make you question a lot. As we know, a great example was Jesus in the desert, right? Or in the wilderness. He was put out there 40 days. I don't think he grumbled. I think he knew it would happen. But what does the desert do to us? I've been in the desert multiple times. And I've been in a place, especially being deployed, where they would have to combat drop all our water and food in. And so we would have to go outside our compound, and we would have to cordon this whole big area off, and they would fly over, and they would push our water out of the back, and it would parachute, would open up, and it would fall safely to the ground. Well, there was days that we only had a little bit of water, and good old parachute did not open up. And now we have a 2,000-pound missile of water coming straight to God-made earth. And what does that do? And we're like, yay, we're still black on water. This is great. Guess what? No showers, no nothing like that. Cut it all off. Yay, let's try tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow it's storming. Oh, yay, this is so good. So let's start rationing out water. Third day comes on. Fourth day comes on. Oh, we finally get a plane in. Guess what happens again? Pew, we get another missile. I'm like, we're not trying to kill bad people with water. We just want to drink this stuff. They finally get us to us, but we're all grumpy by then. I mean, we're not even mission capable. I mean, they shut us down for a couple of days because we can't even go out because our dudes are thirsty, you know. And so, yeah, I know what it's like to be without water, and it's great. It'll put you're a peachy queen when that's going on, you know. No, you're really not. And so, all right, let's jump into, that's 18. Here comes Jethro. So they're moving more into Midian. All right, there's a big old mountain range as you cross the Red Sea. All right, big old mountain range, and they're trying to get through this. People or Jethro is a priest of Midian, says, oh man, here they come, because these people are now moving in stages, right? It says right there, it was God led them through in stages. And so these people, Jethro's coming out to meet him with his wife and his 2 kids. All right. Sounds like Jethro knew they were coming. That's what it seems like to me. Moses was like, hey, I'm going to go get my people. I'll be back. That's what it seems like to me. That's how it reads to me. It's like, hey, I'll see you when you get here. Okay. So here we go. Moses' father-in-law, here we go. And that's 18. I'm just scrolling down through there. Here is his wife. All right. So in 13, the next day Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moses from morning till evening. What's going on? What happens here? Jethro tells him to do what? Come on. Chapter 18.
I know, but what verse?
The whole thing. Okay, verse 17. Moses' father-in-law said to him, what you are doing is not good. You and the people with you certainly wear yourselves out, for these things are too heavy for you. You are not able to do it alone. Now obey my voice. And guys, he's saying, hey, set up an echelon of chain, so you don't get the dumb stuff. Let the dumb stuff go to other people, and then let's work up to the change. You don't go to the Supreme Court right off the bat. You start off at city level or whatever, then you work your way up. That's what he's saying. He's like, what you're doing is just exhausting you. We could do this about church today. We just ain't got time. So here we go. Mount Sinai. All right. On the 3rd new moon, how long does it take for us to get a new moon? Somebody. 30 days. What, 29.2 or 5 or something like that? So 30 days, right? So how long does that tell us? 3 months these people have moved. So now we have a time frame from where they left to now Mount Sinai. 3 months. So now you can somewhat take a mile per hour and put these people, here we go. Not Sinai Peninsula, but in the land of Midian. Okay? All right. That's a big one. So on the 3rd new moon, after the people of Israel had gone out of Egypt, on that day they came up to the wilderness of Sinai. The wilderness of Sinai. Okay? They set out from Rephidim and came to the wilderness of Sinai. They encamped in the wilderness, and Israel camped before the mountain while Moses went up to God. All right. I want you to turn to 1 Kings, because I think this is the same. 1 Kings, let's go to...
Head north toward Wall Street.
Well, we ain't going there. 1 Kings 18. 1 Kings 18. And we're going to be in verse 20. So Ahab sent out the people of Israel, gathered the prophets at Mount Carmel. Okay, Mount Carmel is just north of Jerusalem. Then Elijah came to all the people. How long will you go limping between these two opinions? For the Lord your God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. All right, so Elijah's fixing to get into it. When Elijah said to the people, I only, I am left of the prophets of the Lord, but Baal prophets are 450 men. Let 2 bulls be given to us, and let them choose 1 bull from themselves, bull for themselves, and cut into pieces, and lay it out on the wood. All right. If you don't know the story, go back and read it. All right, because we're running out of time, and I really want to jump into that. And so he is stomping the foot out of the prophets of Baal. All right, and so if you go to chapter 19, Elijah flees Jezebel, right? He takes off. We go all the way down to let's go to 7. Then the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." He arose and ate and drank, and he went in the strength of that for 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. 40 days. Okay? So if you take Mount Carmel, you go all the way down here, guess how long it's going to take you? About 40 days to walk. So he goes possibly all the way down south to the mountain of God. This is the only place in this book that calls it the mountain of God. Okay? It talks about, all right, and he came to a cave lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him and said, yada, yada. All right, that's good. Yeah, it's just too much. All right. So, is there a cave in the traditional Mount Sinai? No. No. Is there a cave in Midian, in the mountains range of Midian, right there? In that, yes, there is one. Guess what's on the top of this mountain? It is burnt. It is burnt black. They have video going up on this mountain, holding it up, busting it open, and it is fresh inside. Everything on top is just burnt. Amazing. So now we're starting to put these puzzles together, and it's now creating a picture of where this thing really is. All right. So if we jump into 19, there we go. 3 months. Let's jump. Oh, I know. Yeah, there we go. Hang on. This is where I wanted to get to. I had a goal. All right. Let's jump to verse 10. It said, the Lord said to Moses, go and, so this is chapter 19, verse 10. Go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their garments and be ready for the third day. When did Jesus rise? Third day. All right. For on the third day, the Lord would come down the mountain of Sinai. All right. He come down on the mountain of Sinai. All right. A good corresponding thing's going on. You know what a ziggurat is? The Tower of Babel was a ziggurat. Okay. Okay. They built these massive pillars, almost like the Egyptian pyramids, that they can go up to God. No, they built these massive temples for God to come down to them. Okay? Very much similar. Tower of Babel, they created this thing not to get to God, but allow God to come to them. Okay? That's why God says, hey, if they're doing this, they can do anything. All right? So let's confuse them, send them off. Okay? That's what their mindset was to do. So that's why it reads right here, and the Lord will come down on the mountain in the sight of the people, and she shall set limits for the people all around, saying, take care, do not go up on the mountain or touch the edge of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall be put to death. Okay? Did Moses get warned before touching this mountain the first time? He did, right? He saw the bush. He saw it burning. God says, take your sandals off, okay? He prepped him before he even went up it, right? And say the bush was on the mountain. He says, hey, he just looked over. There he was. He's somewhere on this mountain range. Before he got to the mountain of God, God says, hey, what you're fixing to do, take your sandals off, because this place is holy. What are they doing right now? What is God preparing them to do? Getting holy, getting ceremonially cleansed, separating the world from him so they can go up this mountain. All right? He says, no hand shall touch him. All right, hang on, I think I jumped. All right, touch the edge of it. Whoever touches the mountain should be put to death. No hand shall touch him, but he shall be stoned or shot. Whether it be beast or man, he shall not live. So he's separated out there. He's like, if they do it, don't even touch them. Stone them to death. All right, I'm trying to make you holy. All right, because I'm holy, you got to be holy. This is what's got to happen before you can come to me. All right? When the trumpet sounds a long blast, they shall come up the mountain. Who's coming up the mountain? Everybody. So Moses went down from the mountain to the people and consecrated the people. All right, let's just keep going because they just say the same thing twice. All right, verse 17, then Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they took their stand at the foot of the mountain. Now the Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke because the Lord had descended upon it in fire. We see now top of this mountain is burnt. The smoke of it went up like a smoke of kindling. That means it's blazing. And the whole mountain trembled greatly. That right there might have stopped me. A mountain is trembling. I don't know, but I might think about that. And the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder. So now, I've never seen anything like this before. The mountain that I'm fixing to walk up is trembling. There's smoke on top of it, and the fire comes flaming out of it. And now a trumpet's getting louder and louder, and God answered him in thunder. So nobody can understand God but Moses. And so now thunder's happening, and the Lord came down on Mount Sinai, on the top of the mountain, and the Lord called to Moses from the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And the Lord said to Moses, go down and warn the people, lest they break through, and the Lord pretty much killed them all. Also the priests had come near the Lord, consecrate them. All right, so don't break out against them. Moses said to the Lord, the people cannot come up this mountain, for you yourself warned us, saying, set limits on the mountains and consecrate it for the Lord. It says, go down and come up, bringing Aaron with you, but do not let the priest and the people break through. So Moses went down to the people, and God spoke to them, saying, and the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of slavery, you shall have no other gods before me. All right, what's he bringing down? 10 Commandments, right? All right. 7:05. I'm missing the scripture. Let me jump. All right. My brain just jumped. All right. Let's stop right there. Because what happens? The people don't go up, right? Why don't they go up? They were scared to. They said, y'all go for us. Y'all just go on up that mountain. Tell us what God says, all right? Moses is up there, and what happens? What does the Israelites do when Moses is up the mountain? They sin, right? How do they sin? That's where they built the calf, right? Yep. And all heck breaks loose. And I am trying to find the scripture, and my brain just went left. That's not like a political joke either.
Talking about the idols and stuff.
Yeah.
2022.
20.
2022.
Yep, here we go. No, that's not it. I'm talking about the one where Aaron collects the gold from the people, earrings and all that. And it could be on through because it runs to, let me find that right fast. Because that way we can, the golden calf, 32. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Sorry about that. This is where I wanted to stop for today. When people saw Moses delaying coming down from the mountain. So, yes, they said, we're not going up the mountain. God terrifies us. You tell us what they say. We'll follow you. We'll do exactly what you say. All right, people are terrified. They don't want to go. All right, God is just he's too much. All right. And the people saw that Moses delayed coming down on the mountain, and people gathered themselves to Aaron. All right, this is Aaron. Aaron's already been up the mountain and said to him, up and make us gods who shall go before us. And as for this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. All right, he's been up there a while. And so Aaron said to them, take off your rings of gold and your earrings of your wife, that thing, and your sons and your daughters, and bring them here. So he says, collect all the gold and bring them to me. So all the people took off the rings of gold and the ears, and they brought them to Aaron. So he received the gold in their hand and fashioned it and engraved it with a tool and made a calf. Okay, why a calf? Egyptian god, okay? They're going back to the old ways. It says, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. This is the kicker. This is Jehovah. This is Jehovah. Huge no-no. The mountain, that's where Jehovah is. He just brought down the 10 Commandments. Yeah, he busted them up. But he says, do not make any idol and make it a god. What did they do? What's the first thing they did? They made an idol, fashioned it out of a tool, and set it up there. These are your gods. This is Jehovah. Man, Aaron, the lead priest is going to walk him into the tabernacle. Here we go.
I don't understand how he swayed like that.
Peer pressure. Pressure.
I think he thought Moses was dead because it was a long time.
It was a long time. I mean, we know that Moses is up there 40 days. All right? Who's with him? Right? Y'all know this stuff. I just put you on the spot. All right. And Aaron saw this, and he built an altar before it. All right. Homework. Let's start there. Homework. I want you to go and study this stuff. I want you to go and look up the mountain of Moses, Jabal Laz. I want you to look at the land of Midian and look at these artifacts that are there. Look at all the evidence that they have now displayed that are the altars, the cave, the top of the mountain that's burnt, the uncut altar that is there, all right? Because God often says, hey, make an altar of uncut stones, okay? Why? Because he don't want it to be fashioned. What did they do? They took a tool and they fashioned an idol. Forget that stuff, all right? If you go up to the Dan, the tribe of Dan. Dan is not mentioned in the book of Revelation. The tribe of Dan is gone. Why? Because they moved north. They were just on the coastal plains just west of Israel, okay? And they went all the way north where these idol-worshiping people are, and they built another bronze altar. Yep, people think that the Antichrist will come out of the tribe of Dan. If you go to the book of Revelations and you will look at the 12 tribes, Dan is not mentioned in there. Yep, it is crazy. That is, well, I won't go into that right now because I could really start up an argument right now, but I'm not going to do that because I'm just a peacekeeper. All right? So I'm not really. We will go over it one day, and I will give you my opinion, and I will back it up by Scripture. But yes, look up that, and
The split rock of Horeb.
yep, the split rock of Horeb. You'll see that amazing sight. Next week, I will throw up a slideshow and put these pictures, but I want you to see it beforehand, and then people at home, y'all do the same thing, because it's amazing, amazing thing. Go home, look up the Mountain of Fire. It's on YouTube. Just look up the Mountain of Fire. I think it's about an hour long. I've seen it probably 15 times, and so I have 15 hours into it. And so Bob Cornuke is his name. The other guy is, I can't remember his name right now, but he was a prior astronaut. So very well-known guy. And so these are two amazing men. And look these guys up. They have multiple videos, and they've already wrote books and everything else. And I have some of those books. I'll bring them next week. But a ton of information, a ton of just tangible evidence that we have on this, which it makes it just even more amazing that God just keeps revealing stuff, even on the Temple Mount today, if you go on the Temple Mount, of course the Arabs hold this thing, right? The Muslims, they have the Temple Mount, they have it locked down. And if you walk over to a certain area and look down, they've covered a big old multiple pillars and some artifacts that's just been covered up down there. And you can walk over and look at it, but you can't tell what it is, and they will shoot you if you try to get down there. Because it's something to do with Jehovah, and they will not let anybody touch it. They will not let you dig there. They won't let you, because the more they dig, the more they find, the more they can concrete evidence that Jehovah is real. And so they want to try to stop them at all cost. It's an amazing battle there in Jerusalem. And so go look up the city of David. It's all this stuff is being, it's moving. And so who knows in 10 years where we'll be? Who knows in 5 years where we'll be? So bless y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Let's pray, and then we will get out of here. Father, we love you. God, we are so grateful, God, for who you are and leaving us a trail of breadcrumbs, Father, that we can tangibly see what kind of God you are and your attributes and the love you have for humanity. God, that your redemptive power is just every day it's new. And God, I thank you that you are a God of love and you are a God of mercy. And I bless you, Lord. God, I thank you just for what you do here tonight. Speak to everyone as they go home and watch these videos. God speaks truth to their life, and I speak faith into them, God. God, that everything they see and they hear and they can tangibly see with their eyes, knowing that you are real. Build their faith, God.